fentanyl, Narcan, opioids, heroin. These are a couple words we have come to know over the past couple of years. Currently, our region and regions all over the United States are going through a heroin epidemic and opioid crisis. I believe the U.S. should increase border security to prevent drug trafficking because there has been an increase in drug use among many Americans. So today I'll be walking you through the causes of the increase of drug use in Americans, the effects on communities it's having, and offer a couple of solutions and evaluate on one. So first off, I'll be talking about causes, and the first topic I'll be telling you about is drug trafficking. And this is a quote from a 2016 article written by Tony Payan named The Three United States-Mexico Border Wars. And it states that in the 1970s to 80s, the border was open and the drug business was booming. And it continues to operate like this till this day. So what this allowed for is massive amounts of drugs coming into the United States because there was no security on the border, and allow people to get addicted to these drugs, causing more and more drugs to be smuggled across the border. The second topic is crime rates. So this is stated from the same Tony Payan article as previously mentioned, and it's drug-related crime is not random. There are discernible principles that can help us understand the drug-related violence on the border. And so basically what he's talking about is that wherever there's drugs, there's almost always violence, and that it's not just drug users getting hurt, it's also innocent people that happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. So this is hurting many people, and they're not, some of them are innocent. And the last topic is drug use. Marijuana and inhalants rose significantly in students. LSD, MDMA, cocaine, crack, heroin, etc. are at a slight increase from the early 70s. This is stated in a 2017 article named Key Findings on Adolescent Drug Use by O'Malley. And so many drugs are on the rise in students, and this is because there's been more drugs in communities, so it's easier for students to get drugs and use them because it's a lot more prevalent in communities now. This is because of the open borders in the 70s and 80s. So next I'll be moving on to effects that these have on communities. And 70 to 80% of all drugs consumed in a community are smuggled across the border, and this is stated in a 2017 article by Tony Payan named Three United States and Mexico Border Wars. And so 70 to 80% is a very large number. So what this, since there's not a whole lot of protection on the border, this means that Mexico is supplying a lot of drugs coming into communities. So there's just an increase in drug use in these communities because the borders aren't secure enough. The last topic is crime rates. And the drug war failed because it caused hundreds of thousands of deaths, four times the total death amount of Vietnam War. This is stated in the same article by Tony Payan. So this isn't as prevalent in our community because we're not near the border, but in border communities there's a lot of crime because of drug cartels and people trying to smuggle drugs. And so many millions of people are getting hurt, and it's overall a bad situation. And drug use. Drug use is on the rise in many drugs. Overdoses between the ages of 20 to 30 have a significant jump since the 70s. And this is on Key Findings on Adolescent Drug Use by O'Malley. It's a 2016 article. So many people are dying because of drugs, as we're having a heroin epidemic, and it's leaving communities ravished because it's just a lot of people dying, and it's out of control. So some criteria that needs to be met before we can have a solution is that money needs to be arranged for extra security from our budget. People need people to build/work on the border so that we can maintain it. And communities need to take action against drugs. So some possible solutions are building a 1,000-mile border wall or increasing border security. I'll be talking about the wall. So in a 2018 article named The Wall Before the Storm written by H.W. Wilson, it states that the 670 miles of fencing stopped about 1 million illegal border crossers. So if you cut that down, 1 million people and 70 to 80% of drugs in a community are taken from Mexico. That's a lot of drugs stopped in a community. Crime rate, there's a very dangerous city named Ciudad Juarez. It's the most dangerous city in the world on the opposite side of a border, so the wall would prevent that crime carrying over to those communities. And drug use, drugs just kind of get into the country, so gonna use them. So in conclusion, most of the drugs consumed are from Mexico. Drug increase is there's a dramatic drug increase among students and overdoses from ages 20 to 30. And everybody here will be able to vote in the next couple of years, and it's almost voting season, so I encourage you to vote for somebody that will protect our borders. And that's all.
You said 70 to 80% of the drugs come from, or that our communities come from Mexico. Does that mean like just communities around the border, or like?
That's 70 to 80% of drugs consumed in every community in America are smuggled across the border or like somehow brought into America from Mexico.
Actually, was my question is, do you find anything about how many of the drugs come across in a like legal fashion versus them being smuggled? I mean, they're all being smuggled over the border, but how many of them are entering with legal people and?
I know that it's a lot more like on being carried across the borders illegally. There's also like coming across on planes, small planes. I don't know the direct like actual percents, but I know that ground smuggling is a lot more popular.
So my follow-up to that then is, if your solution is to build a wall, won't they find other ways to still get it across if they already are in planes or?
It requires them to think more and spend more money getting their drugs into our country, so that could be a deterrent for them wanting to be a part of their market. And yeah, there's always can be flown over, but kind of hard to stop that.
So, do you encourage the wall just because of the drug use, or is there other factors to it as well?
I really don't care about any other factor. Like, yeah, illegal immigration is a big problem, but that's another topic, so.
But that doesn't influence your opinion in any way? Illegal immigration?
Yes, it does influence mine. I think we should cut down illegal immigration, and so I believe that the wall should be, not necessarily the wall, I believe we should beef up our border security.
So for you, the wall is twofold, both drugs and immigration?
Yeah. Because there's kind of a correlation between illegal immigration and drug smuggling. Not saying that all illegal immigrants bring over drugs, it's just there happens to be proof of it.
Alright, good job.